What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to the Thomas Gallery, and today I want to talk about something real interesting, and that is WWE versus WCW. Let's talk. Now, for as long as I've been alive, I've always encountered this particular argument. Which company is better? Which got the best characters, best stories, so forth and so on. Now, I grew up in a time when it was WWF, not WW. Well, I grew up in a time where it was WWF and changed to WWE. I remember the whole lawsuit case, all that stuff. But growing up, which one did I watch more? WWE, WCW. And to be honest with you, I grew up watching WWE. Reason being is, most of the characters that I gravitated to were in WWE because I would say the difference that I've noticed between WWE and WCW was their quality of production, meaning their presentation on the screen. How did everything look when it was projected on the screen? How was the camera? How was the camera angles? How was the? Well, I mean, I did back when I was a child. I was not thinking about no camera angles and all that stuff and all the production storyline. I was not thinking that. I was just thinking about the way it looked on TV looked better to me from WWE than WCW. Okay. Now, like for WWE, you can tell it was the bigger budget. It had the bigger budget, and to me, it had a much brighter, much glossier tone to it when it's projected on screen. Furthermore, the wrestlers, the characters that were on WWE had more of a had a brighter. It like more like superheroes to me. It had the sense of WWE gave me the sense of Marvel Comics. It was glossier. It was brighter. The characters were more flamboyant. You had Hulk Hogan, Macho Man. I grew up on the Heart Foundation, Coco Beware, Ravishing Rick Rude, Bruce the Barber Beefcake. The Rockers with Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty when they were the Rockers before they split. Everything was brighter. Everything was flashier. Okay, it was flashier. It looked like it came out of a comic book through the screen. Okay, which made me gravitate towards it. Now, with that being said, however, when it came to WCW, it didn't have the more flamboyant characters. It gave a sense of more realism. Like the everyman type company. That these weren't men and women that you would just see like in a comic book. These like for WCW, they look like men who just walk the streets normally, and then at their job they would actually wrestle. However, what made them come through for me was it's like their actual personality came through. From WCW, I got the sense that I was seeing their actual personality. Okay? I was seeing the real them in the ring. From WWE, I got a sense of, I knew it was a character, and I had the feeling that the character wasn't actually them. Like it was too bright and too flamboyant for it to be their actual personality on WWE. But for WCW, the personalities that I saw gave me the impression that that was actually them. Like, I believe that Ric Flair was really like that. The kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, limousine riding, jet flying, limousine riding, son of a gun, and having a hard time holding these alligators down. I believe that that was actually him in real life. Like Sting, with the face mask and all that stuff, with his personality, I got the feeling that that was actually his personality. Now, when the Monday Night Wars happened and Monday Night Raw, like I remember the very first episode of Monday Night Wars and Monday Night Raw. I remember. And that's when both companies were at their peak. You had the Attitude Era and all that stuff. You had The Rock. It was just really starting to come up. Stone Cold Steve Austin was being introduced. All this. Then you had Hulk Hogan, people like Hulk Hogan, over at WCW with the NWO and all that stuff. Then you had, the Diesel, Big Daddy Cool, before it was X-Pac, it was 6. Then the first was 1, 2, 3 Kid. Then it was 6. Then it was X-Pac. And X-Pac went over to, to Generation X or WWE. But I remember when X-Pac was 1, 2, 3 Kid. I remember that with 1, 2, 3 Kid, WCW. Then he became 6. Then he went over to, over WWE, and it became, became X-Pac. So during that time, like the Attitude Era, the Monday Night Wars, a lot of your favorite WWE characters were going over to WCW and vice versa. And then Goldberg happened. When Goldberg came in, I remember his very first match. When Goldberg came in for WCW, from that point forward, WWE was taking a huge hit because Goldberg catapulted him right there and put him over. At least from my perspective, and because I loved watching WWE. But when Goldberg came in on WCW, I ain't gonna front. I found myself flipping more to WCW. And Diamond Dallas Page and all that stuff. And, and Paul White, Big Show. He was just called the Giant. We had the long hair and the one strap like Andre the Giant. Yeah, he was just the Giant. Like, I was starting to flip over to WCW when that was going on. At first, I was like, okay, WWE is running things. Then Goldberg came in, and it was like, I don't know. Like, this is... Then you had NWO. When NWO happened, and Hollywood Hogan, and Goldberg came in, that's when it became official that, you know what, this is getting real. Like, and Ric Flair being the president, I am your president, losing his mind. But let me just say this. To me, in my opinion, Ric Flair is the best on-mic personality ever. Ric Flair is the best person on the microphone ever in wrestling. I don't care if it's WWE, WCW. Ric Flair is the best speaker on the mic. You give that man a microphone, or if you interview that man, you are guaranteed to be entertained like never before. That's a side note. Anyway. But it was tough. Then, you had, it's like your Mondays were jam-packed. Your Mondays were jam-packed with a great product. Like, you couldn't turn away. Monday Night Wars, Monday Night Raw, Goldberg, The Rock, Big NWO, Stone Cold. Like, you couldn't go wrong on that day. Think about this. On Monday, you had Monday Night Football, WCW Monday Night Wars, and Monday Night Raw. Monday was literally the best day of the week. Because usually Mondays are drag for everybody. But Monday was the best day of the week. The best day of the week. That was like it was like Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football wrapped up in one. And growing up, I could never decide. Like I said, as a child, I grew up on WWE. I grew up on WWE as a child. But my teenage years, I couldn't decide. I couldn't decide my teenage years. I couldn't decide. Then when the whole buyout thing happened where WWE took over WCW, then you knew who was king. You knew who was king. Then when the whole lawsuit thing happened with the WWF, the World Wildlife Foundation, when Vince McMahon lost the lawsuit and he had to change it from WWF to WWE. Like, okay, you still had the Attitude Era when it became beginning of WWE, and it became sports entertainment. Instead of wrestling, they stopped calling it wrestling. They just called it sports entertainment. You still had it good because you had The Rock. You still in the Attitude Era. You were starting to lose your competition with WCW. So it just, they say you're only as good as your competition. And because WCW was so powerful then, WWE knew that they had some competition, so they had to really, step their game up. And they did for a good while, real good while. Then they bought the competition. Now they have no more competition. So he's like, okay, there's no one else. There's no one else to fight. There's no goals now. We've won. WWE won. But so in that sense, yes, WWE is better. But I will say, I knew the difference. I still gravitate towards WWE just because of like the bright lights type of thing. Cause they had WrestleMania. What did WCW have that could equate to WrestleMania? What did WCW put out that could match up the historical precedence of WrestleMania or SummerSlam? So me, I loved many other characters from WCW, but I gotta say, with the exception of a few characters from WCW, I was a huge WWE fan. Now I don't watch any wrestling. It ain't the same. It just isn't the same anymore. It isn't the same. So I'm a WWE fan. Whatever that means nowadays, but that's how I go. Thank you very much for listening. Leave a comment down below. I will catch you all later. Peace.